Hello! Okay, The Haunted Mansion, the second theatrical film adaptation of Walt Disney's theme park attraction, following from the 2003 film of the same name, a film that I've never watched, starring Eddie Murphy. So here we've got the second go at this. That 2003 movie, it made money, but it was critically panned, so Disney are giving it another go. So this film follows a single mum named Gabbie who hires a tour guide, a psychic, a priest and an historian to help exorcise her newly bought mansion after discovering it is inhabited by ghosts. So, the one thing they really do achieve with this movie is give it that theme park attraction feel about it. And for me personally, this did feel like I was watching a theme park attraction ride. It's silly, it's loud, you've got your classic horror tropes and all of that. And so yeah, they really did achieve that. But one of the things they do try to add to this movie is this emotional anchor, this emotional core and heart to the characters' stories and their journeys. And unfortunately, it really fails at that for me. Nothing really comes together naturally or organically. And that for me personally, I felt was because there was just zero chemistry between any of the actors. Like nothing really just came together, and everything just kind of felt forceful when it came to the relationships and how these relationships grew through the story. It all just felt forceful. So this heart that they tried to give this story, you could see that it's there, and I appreciated that. But just for me, it didn't quite work. And I'm going to use another movie in comparison, which does a similar thing with its story, and I felt worked wonderfully, and that's Dungeons and Dragons. And I felt like they were trying to do the same thing here with this story, but just failed. And it's because a lot of it's just down to the way the characters are written and the chemistry between these actors. And as a result, just didn't work for me. For example, there's this one moment with our lead character, Ben, the tour guide, who's forming this relationship, this bond with Gabbie's son, Travis. And you can see what they're trying to do to kind of build this father-son relationship. And it just, for me, failed because it felt forceful. It was very forceful. It just didn't feel natural or organic, and it just felt overall this entire movie, to be honest with you, just felt very superficial. And it's nothing to do with the performances. The performances are all okay. Everyone gives okay performances. One of the standouts for me was the young actor playing Travis, Gabbie's son. He was really, really good. I really, really liked him. But yeah, it's just, there was just something very superficial about this overall experience. And for those of you that have been following me for a while now will know that I love my practical effects, especially when it comes to horror movies, and there are practical effects used within this movie that I really appreciated. But it's also very limited, and I felt like what we did have, which was practical effects, it was just doused in this very kind of cartoon-like exaggerated CGI that was, again, it kind of helped what this film felt like. You know, it aided in what this film is, which is, it's based on a theme park attraction ride. And so so there's one aspect of the special effects that kind of worked for the movie and the type of film that it is. But at the same time, for me, just really helped add to that superficial feeling that I had with the movie. And yeah, like I said, I would really have liked to have seen a lot more practical effects being used, like especially when it comes to certain characters and their faces and all of that. I just felt like there are a lot of moments in which they could have relied on practical effects, but then what they did do and how much of the CGI they did use and sort of the style of the CGI kind of worked for the kind of film that this is. Tonally, this movie is a mess. You've got the classic Disney generic comedy and humour, and then among all of that, you've got the very forced somber moments, as well as this just having a very kind of silly, over-the-top, hammy feel to it, which again then plays into what this film is based on. But it also lacks a distinct style. Like this movie felt like a paint by the numbers kind of experience. Just kind of has a very Disney generic feel about it, and it left me really kind of wanting something that had I don't know, just a bit of flavour to it maybe. Due to that kind of lack of identity and style, I was kind of just left in moments imagining if someone like Tim Burton had directed a movie like this, or maybe Tim Burton should have directed a film like this, because there's just certain moments that I felt would have worked and had a lot more impact if the film had just a little bit more style to it maybe, and a bit more of an identity. There is this one moment in the movie and I just had Danny Elfman's score playing in my head, and for me that kind of just shows how much this film kind of just lacked its own kind of originality in sort of how the film was directed and how the story was told. So yeah, I do feel like they tried to do something with this movie, to make it more than it being just a sort of fun, silly comedy horror based on a theme park attraction ride. I do feel like the attempt is there. Unfortunately, it doesn't all quite come together and work. Not for me anyway. There are moments that I think kids are gonna like, but I think the overall experience I found, especially in places, was quite dull. So I think there's gonna be moments maybe where kids do get a little bit bored, and it really just lacked this kind of distinct style and vision, which I felt like the film really needed. There are moments that just left me wondering how Tim Burton would have handled this movie due to his distinct style, and it just, this overall experience just left me yearning for something unique and different. Instead, we got a movie that lacked any impact, it lacked a distinct style, and it just has this kind of very generic Disney feel about it, and maybe they were aiming for this, but it just lacked the magic of what they did with Pirates of the Caribbean, for example, which was also based off a theme park attraction. It kind of just lacked that magic. So yeah, the Haunted Mansion for me was a very okay, average experience. There is some fun to be had with it. There is the odd chuckle here and there. But for the most part, like with the humour, the humour just didn't quite work for me. It's perhaps a little bit too silly. But for kids, I think that kids will enjoy this in moments and in parts. But it's also in moments that's just a little bit too dull and a little bit too slow as well. So along with the tone, which is also very uneven, I feel like the pacing was quite uneven as well. The film starts with this energy behind it, and then it kind of fizzles out, and then you get the energy back, and then it fizzles out. Nothing sort of really runs or comes together smoothly throughout this experience. It's a bit of a mixed bag, a very average bag for me, which I think some people are going to definitely enjoy a hell of a lot more than I did. There is some fun to be had, especially for kids. But yeah, they are my thoughts on The Haunted Mansion. It was okay. This is not a terrible movie, but it's not great either. So yes, and I will be giving The Haunted Mansion a 4.5 out of 10. So yeah, they are my thoughts on The Haunted Mansion. Did you agree with anything I said? Did you disagree? Did you love the film? Did you hate the film? Then please let me know in the comments below and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you want to see future reviews and just general movie talk from a geek in Wales, just ramble on, then please hit the subscribe button. It'll mean an awful lot to me. My next review will be for Blue Beetle, which releases on the 18th next week. There's a lot of positive buzz, first reactions coming from that film. I'm looking forward to checking it out. I liked the look of the trailer. There's also a secret screening on the 14th, Monday. Not sure what that film is going to be yet, but there will also be there will be a review for whatever that film is at the secret screening. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll be catching you guys soon.